The streetlights made long dark shapes on South Shore Drive. Staff Sergeant Philip Benjamin's taxi stopped at his red brick house. It was 2:17 in the morning on a hot July night. The whole neighborhood was dead quiet. After 15 months fighting in Afghanistan, all he wanted was to surprise his wife Lucy and hold her tight again. He wasn't supposed to come home for 3 more weeks. Coming back early was his special gift to her. Their 10th wedding anniversary was only days away. In his army bag, next to his combat clothes and dog tags, was a beautiful white gold necklace he bought just for her in Dubai. The cab driver was an old man named Earl. He helped Philip with his bags. "Welcome home, soldier," Earl said. He wouldn't take the extra money Philip tried to give him. "Your family must be so happy to have you back." Philip smiled, thinking about how Lucy's face would light up when she saw him. "They don't know I'm coming. I want to surprise them." Earl nodded, got back in his cab, and drove off into the dark night. Philip stood there for a moment, looking at his house. Something didn't feel right. There was a car he'd never seen before parked outside a black Chrysler 300 with dark windows and fancy rims. Probably one of the neighbors got a new car, he thought, but his stomach started to feel sick. The house was dark except for a soft light coming from their bedroom window upstairs. The front porch light was off, which was weird. Lucy always left it on at night. As he got closer, he noticed other things that seemed wrong. The front garden that Lucy always took perfect care of looked wild and messy. Empty beer bottles sat along the porch railing. Using his key, Philip quietly opened the front door. The living room smelled different, strange cologne mixed with marijuana smoke. Their wedding photo, which always sat on the table by the door, was turned face down. Then he heard it. Muffled sounds coming from upstairs. His military training kicked in automatically. Moving without making any noise, he put down his bags and climbed the stairs. Each step was careful and quiet. The sounds got clearer, rhythmic creaking, heavy breathing, a man's low grunt. The master bedroom door was closed, but not all the way. Yellow light spilled through the crack, along with the unmistakable sounds of sex. Philip felt his whole world spinning, but his body moved with the calm precision that had kept him alive in combat. He pushed the door open. The scene burned itself into his mind in pieces. Tangled sheets, brown skin against brown skin. His wife's legs wrapped around a stranger's waist. Their wedding picture on the nightstand. Watching it all, time seemed to stop. Nobody moved. Then Lucy screamed. The man, muscular with dreadlocks and a tribal tattoo across his back, rolled off and reached for something on the floor. In the yellow lamplight, metal caught the light. A gun. Philip's training took over. In Afghanistan, hesitation meant death. He crossed the room into steps, caught the man's wrist before he could raise the weapon, and drove his other fist into the man's throat. The gun clattered to the floor. What happened next played out like a horrible nightmare. Lucy screaming, the man gasping for air but still swinging, fists hitting flesh, rolling on the floor, the gun sliding under the bed, blood spraying across white walls. In all the chaos, Philip's hand found the gun. The man lunged. 2 shots rang out. Then silence. Lucy Benjamin stood in front of her bathroom mirror, carefully putting on her MAC Ruby with lipstick. At 32, she still made men stop and stare. Her gym workouts kept her body tight, and she took pride in how she looked. Today she'd chosen a fitted red dress that showed of every curve. Her phone buzzed on the counter. A text from Job. "Can't wait to see you tonight, baby." Philip's still not back for 3 more weeks. She typed back quickly. "All clear. Come by after 9. Lucy stared at herself in the mirror, trying to push down the guilt eating at her stomach. She and Philip had been high school sweethearts. They got married right after graduation. He joined the army to give them a better life, and she'd supported him, but the deployments got longer. The distance grew bigger, and somewhere along the way, she'd started feeling so lonely. Job Williams had walked into her life 6 months ago at the hair salon where she worked. He was everything Philip wasn't: present, spontaneous, dangerous in an exciting way. What started as innocent flirting turned into drinks after work, then secret meetings, and finally into something she couldn't control. Her phone buzzed again. This time it was Philip on FaceTime. "Hey baby," he said. His face was pixelated on a small screen. He looked tired. Dust from the Afghan desert was still visible on his uniform. "Hey," she answered, forcing a smile. "How are you?" "Missing you. Like crazy. 3 more weeks feel like forever. But hey, our anniversary is coming up. I got something special planned. Can't wait." She lied, her stomach churning. They talked for a few minutes about nothing important. She told him about work at the salon, carefully avoiding any mention of Job, who'd become a regular customer just to see her. "I love you," Philip said before hanging up. "Stay safe." "Love you too," she replied. The words tasted bitter in her mouth at the salon that day. Her co-worker Shanice noticed her acting strange. "Girl, you're playing with fire," Shanice warned while mixing hair dye. "Job might be fine as hell, but he's got a record. And Philip, that man loves you for real." I know, Lucy sighed, arranging supplies. "It just happened. And now I can't stop. Gonna get somebody killed," Shanice muttered. Mark my words, by evening, Lucy had pushed away all thoughts of consequences. She'd ordered Philip's favorite takeout from Harold's Chicken, letting the delivery driver think it was for her husband. She changed the sheets, lit scented candles, and poured 2 glasses of wine at 9:15 p.m. Job's black Chrysler 300 pulled up. He entered using the key she'd given him last month, looking like Singh in dark jeans and a fitted black shirt that showed of his muscled arms. "Damn, baby," he said, pulling her close. "You trying to kill me in that dress?" They barely made it upstairs before clothes started coming off. Job had brought weed and more wine. They smoked, drank, made love, talked, and made love again. Hours passed in a haze of pleasure and chemical courage. "Are you ever going to leave him?" Job asked around midnight, tracing patterns on her bare skin. "It's complicated," she answered. "The house is in his name. My whole life is tied to his. I got money," Job said. "Been doing good with my business." They both knew his business wasn't entirely legal. "Just give me time," she said, kissing him to stop further questions. Neither of them heard the taxi pull up outside. Neither noticed the front door quietly opening. They were lost in each other, music playing low on the Bluetooth speaker, when the bedroom door swung open and their world exploded. Blood pooled on the hardwood floor, seeping into the cracks between the boards. 2 bodies lay motionless, Job face down, 2 bullet holes in his chest. Lucy slumped against the wall, caught by a stray round that had passed through Job and into her left shoulder. Philip stood in the center of the room, the gun still warm in his hand. His military training had taken over during the fight, but now the soldier was fading, leaving just a man staring at the ruins of his life. He checked Job first. No pulse. Then he moved to Lucy, who was awake but going into shock. "Philip," she whispered, blood staining her red dress darker. "I'm sorry." "I'm so sorry." His combat medic training kicked in. He grabbed towels from the bathroom and pressed them against her wound. "Don't talk. Help is coming." But he hadn't called anyone yet. His phone was still in his army bag downstairs. The neighbors must have heard the shots. Someone would call 911. Or maybe not. In this part of Chicago, people learned to mind their business when they heard gunfire. As if reading his thoughts, police sirens wailed in the distance, growing closer. "I didn't mean." Lucy tried to speak again. "Shut up," Philip said quietly. "Just shut up." The sirens stopped outside. Car doors slammed. Flashlight beams swept across the windows. "Chicago police." "Open up." Philip set the gun down carefully and walked downstairs, hands raised. He opened the front door to find 4 officers with weapons drawn. "Don't move." "Hands where we can see them." "I'm Staff Sergeant Philip Benjamin," he said calmly. "I'm the homeowner. There are 2 people injured upstairs. 1 DOA. My wife needs medical attention." They handcuffed him anyway. Standard procedure. As they led him to a squad car, neighbors came out of their homes, filming with phones. Mrs. Jenkins from next door stood on her porch in a nightgown, shaking her head sadly. "That poor boy," she muttered, "fought for his country just to come home to this mess." The next hours passed in a blur. The detective interviewing Philip at the station was a middle-aged black man named Williams, no relation to Job, he assured him. "Walk me through it again," Detective Williams said, recording device on the table between them. Philip told it straight. The early return, the strange car, the sounds upstairs, the gun under the bed, self-defense. His court-appointed lawyer, Patricia Morris, insisted the deceased had a weapon and a criminal record. "My client is a decorated combat veteran who found armed intruders in his home." "One intruder," Detective Williams corrected. "The other victim was his wife, who was participating in a home invasion by letting her lover in," Morris argued. "The shooting was justified. At Chicago Med, Lucy underwent surgery to remove the bullet. Her parents arrived, her mother crying, her father stone-faced. They'd never approved of Philip, thought their daughter could do better than a soldier. Now they sat in the waiting room, avoiding the news crews gathering outside lobby one morning. The story was everywhere. Soldier catches wife with lover deadly shooting on South Side. Afghanistan vet guns down wife's paramour in marriage bed tragic. Homecoming. War hero finds betrayal and blood. Social media exploded with opinions. He served his country while she served everybody else. Hashtag Team Philip. 2 people shot over cheating. He needs to be put in jail. This is why you don't mess with military men's wives. But none of it reached Philip in his holding cell. He sat motionless, staring at the wall, seeing only the bedroom scene playing over and over in his mind, wondering when exactly his life had gone off the rails. Was it during his last deployment? Earlier? Had the signs been there all along? Detective Williams sat at his desk in Area Central, surrounded by photos from the crime scene. The case seemed straightforward at first, a classic crime of passion. But something wasn't adding up. He picked up Job Williams's rap sheet. Drug possession, assault, suspected ties to the Vice Lord's gang. But nothing in the past 5 years. His legitimate business, a chain of car washes, was doing well. The gun found at the scene was legally registered to him. Detective. Officer Thompson interrupted his thoughts. You need to see this. She handed him a transcript of Lucy Benjamin's phone records. Hundreds of texts between her and Job going back 8 months. But there was something else, messages to a burner phone discussing life insurance policies and deployment schedules. There's more, Thompson said. Remember that break-in attempt at the Benjamin house for months ago? Nothing stolen. Case went cold. Happened right after Sergeant Benjamin increased his SGLI to $1 million. Williams leaned back, connecting the dots. You thinking this wasn't just an affair? Maybe they were planning something bigger, waiting for him to deploy again. At Chicago Med, Lucy Benjamin was recovering from surgery. 2 uniformed officers stood guard outside her room. Detective Williams found her parents still there, Calvin and Regina Morrison, both retired Chicago public school teachers. Mrs. Benjamin, Williams said, entering the room. We need to talk. Lucy looked small in the hospital bed, her left arm held still by medical equipment. I already told the other officers what happened. You told them about the affair. But let's talk about the insurance policy and those interesting texts about your husband's deployment schedule. The color drained from her face. Meanwhile, at Cook County Jail, Philip received his first visitor, Michael Benjamin, his younger brother and a Chicago Transit Authority driver. Man, what the hell? Michael said through the visiting room glass. I had to hear about this on the news. How is Mama taking it? How you think? Philip asked. She's at church right now praying. Pastors organizing support for your defense. Tell her not to bother. I did what I did. Michael leaned closer to the glass. Listen, bro. People out here supporting you. Even Lucy's friends from the salon talking about how she did you dirty. Your army buddy started a legal defense fund. This ain't over, but Philip barely seemed to hear him. You know what's crazy? When I was in Afghanistan, every night I dreamed of coming home to her. Even when mortars were falling, knowing she was here kept me going. Now I wish I'd never come. Back at Area Central, Detective Williams was building a different picture. Bank records showed large cash deposits to Lucy's personal account. Job's phone revealed deleted messages about taking care of the soldier problem. They were planning to kill him. Williams told his partner, probably during his next deployment, make it look like a combat death or an accident. The affair got sloppy, but the real plan was the insurance money, so what now? Thompson asked Benjamin. Still killed 2 people. 1 person. Williams corrected. Lucy's alive, and once she's stable, we're charging her with conspiracy to commit murder. The news hit Chicago's South Side like a bomb. At Super Clean Car Wash, Job's main business, workers gathered to mourn their boss. Many hadn't known about his relationship with Lucy, much less any murder plot. At a T-sharp cut salon where Lucy worked, opinions were divided. Some defended her, pointing to Philip's long absences. Others, like Shanice, felt betrayed. She sat right there, Shanice told reporters, pointing to Lucy's empty styling station, talking about how much she missed Philip, how proud she was of him serving. Meanwhile, she plotting with her side dude to kill him. That's cold. Social media stories shifted from victim to villain. Wife and soldier love triangle, allegedly planned murder, Southside shooting reveals deadly insurance scam. War hero stopped. Own murder by coming home early. The summer heat wave gripped Chicago as new details came out. Detective Williams stood before a room of reporters at CPD headquarters, laying out the conspiracy they'd uncovered. What first looked like a tragic domestic incident was actually part of a larger criminal conspiracy, he explained. Evidence suggests Mrs. Benjamin and Mr. Williams had been planning the death of Sergeant Benjamin for financial gain. Security camera footage from the car wash showed Lucy in job meeting late at night. Bank records revealed wire transfers to offshore accounts. A laptop found in Job's car contained research on untraceable poisons and accidents that could look natural in a war zone. At Chicago Med, Lucy finally broke down under questioning. It wasn't supposed to be like this. She sobbed to Detective Williams. Job said it would be cleaned quick. Philip wouldn't suffer. The insurance money would set us up for life. So you were going to have your husband killed for money? Williams asked, recording the confession. You don't understand. Those deployments changed him. He'd wake up screaming, having flashbacks. Sometimes he didn't recognize me. I was scared of him. Job promised to protect me, but her story didn't match the evidence. Philip's army record showed no history of violent incidents. His psychological evaluations were clean. Neighbors described him as quiet and respectful. At T-Sharp Cut Salon, Shanice provided another perspective. Lucy changed when she met Job. She told investigators. Started wearing expensive stuff, talking about needing more excitement. One time, I heard them arguing about timing. She wanted to wait. He was pushing for something to happen sooner. The investigation revealed more players. Job's cousin worked at an insurance company and had helped fast-track Philip's policy changes. A former cellmate of Job's was arrested for attempting to purchase untraceable weapons as part of the plot. Meanwhile, Philip remained largely silent in jail. His attorney, Patricia Morris, built a strong self-defense case. My client, a decorated combat veteran, returned home to find armed intruders, she repeated to the media. He acted to protect himself in his own home. The fact that these intruders were plotting his murder only strengthens our case. The community rallied around Philip. Local veterans groups organized protests outside the courthouse. His church collected funds for his defense. Even Lucy's parents, learning of the murder plot, publicly supported their son-in-law. We failed to see what our daughter had become, Kelvin Morrison told reporters outside the hospital. Philip served his country with honor while she betrayed everything: her vows, her family, basic human decency. The case took another turn when investigators found videos on Job's phone. He'd recorded conversations with Lucy, apparently as insurance. In one video, filmed in their bedroom 2 months earlier, they discussed methods. Lucy, it has to look natural. Combat zone, anything could happen. Job, my connection says he can make it look like friendly fire. Cost extra, but untraceable. Lucy, whatever it takes. I can't spend another year pretending to be the proud military wife. The evidence was damning. The state's attorney's office charged Lucy with conspiracy to commit first-degree murder, solicitation of murder, and insurance fraud. Several of Job's associates faced related charges. Philip's case moved toward a rapid resolution. Given the circumstances and evidence of the murder plot, prosecutors agreed to reduce the charges to voluntary manslaughter. The death of Job Williams, while tragic, occurred during the commission of a felony in which he was a willing participant, the state's attorney announced. Mr. Benjamin's actions, while extreme, were influenced by reasonable fear for his life. The Cook County Criminal Courthouse burst with tension as Lucy Benjamin's preliminary hearing began. She appeared in a wheelchair, her left arm still in a sling, wearing county-issue beige scrubs instead of her usual designer clothes. Philip sat in the gallery, flanked by his brother Michael and their mother, Gloria Benjamin, a retired postal worker who barely missed a day of court. He'd been released on electronic monitoring, the prosecutor citing his military service and cooperation. Assistant State's Attorney Karen Martinez laid out the government's case. Your Honor, the evidence will show that the defendant, along with her deceased CO conspirator, engaged in a calculated plot to murder her husband for financial gain. This wasn't a simple affair gone wrong. This was a premeditated conspiracy to kill a United States soldier. The evidence was overwhelming. Investigators had recovered deleted emails discussing various murder scenarios. One particularly damning message from Lucy to Job read, "Next deployment is in September. That's our window. After that, we'll be set for life." Financial records showed Lucy had already spent some of Philip's combat pay on gifts for Job, including the custom rims on his Chrysler. She'd also taken out additional credit cards in Philip's name while he was deployed. Detective Williams testified about the sophisticated nature of the plot. They had multiple plans in place. Plan A was to arrange an accident during deployment. Plan B involved hired contractors in Afghanistan. They even researched ways to make it look like Taliban activity. During cross-examination, Lucy's public defender tried to paint her as a victim of Job's manipulation, but the recorded conversations told a different story. In one video, Lucy was clearly the one pushing for action. We need to stop talking and make this happen. I am tired of playing wife every time he has a times. Tired of listening to him talk about our future when I want a future with you. The testimony that hit hardest came from Shanice, Lucy's former friend from the salon. She changed completely, started taking long lunches with Job, coming back with expensive gifts. One time she laughed about Philip sending her extra money for their anniversary, said he was basically funding their dates during a break in proceedings. Gloria Benjamin spoke quietly to her son, "Baby, I know this hurts, but God got you through war for a reason. He brought you home early for a reason." Philip just nodded, his face showing no emotion. The only time he showed feeling was during playback of surveillance footage from his house cameras he'd installed himself for Lucy's protection while he was away. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. The footage showed Lucy and Job entering the house multiple times over months, often staying overnight. More damaging were their conversations on the back porch, smoking weed and casually discussing murder. "Lucy, it's too risky here. Has to be overseas." "Job, my guy says Afghanistan's perfect. Things go wrong there all the time. Lucy, just make sure it's after the policy kicks in, and make it clean. He deserves that much at least." In the courtroom, Lucy broke down during this playback, sobbing loudly until the judge ordered a recess. Her parents, sitting far from Philip's family, left the courtroom in tears. The preliminary hearing concluded with Lucy being held without bail. The judge cited the severity of the charges and called the evidence disturbing and substantial. Meanwhile, Philip's case moved toward resolution. Given the circumstances, prosecutors offered a plea deal: plead guilty to involuntary manslaughter, receive a sentence of probation with no additional jail time. His attorney advised accepting the deal, but Philip seemed hesitant. "If I take it, I'm admitting I did something wrong. Did I? Man comes into my house with a gun, plotting to kill me, and I'm supposed to apologize." The plea hearing for Philip Benjamin took place on a rainy Tuesday morning. The courtroom was packed. Veterans in uniform, church members, family, media. Even some of Lucy's former salon clients came to support him. Judge Miranda Chun addressed Philip directly. "Sergeant Benjamin, before accepting your plea, I want to ensure you understand its terms. While the court recognizes the extraordinary circumstances of this case, taking a life remains a serious matter." Philip stood straight, military bearing evident. "Yes, Your Honor, I understand." The plea agreement was read into record: involuntary manslaughter, 5 years probation, mandatory counseling, no contact with Lucy Benjamin or Job Williams' family. Before accepting the plea, Judge Chun made an unusual statement. The court notes that while the defendant's actions resulted in death, they occurred in response to what evidence shows was an ongoing criminal conspiracy against his life. His service to this country, clean record, and the unique circumstances warrant judicial mercy. Philip was fingerprinted one final time and released. Outside the courthouse, reporters shouted questions. "Sergeant Benjamin, do you regret coming home early? Any words for your wife? Will you return to active duty?" He ignored them all, walking to his mother's car with his family forming a protective circle around him. 2 weeks later, Lucy's trial began. She'd rejected all plea offers despite her attorney's advice. The evidence mounted daily text messages showing her coaching Job on Philip's military schedule, recordings of calls to offshore banks about moving money, testimony from Job's cousin about helping fake insurance documents, security footage of the meeting with known hitmen. The prosecution's closing argument was devastating. "Ladies and gentlemen, this isn't about infidelity. This isn't about a marriage gone wrong. This is about greed. While Sergeant Benjamin risked his life serving our country, his wife plotted his death. She watched him go to war but planned to ensure he'd never come home." The jury deliberated for just 4 hours. Verdict: guilty on all counts. Judge Chun, presiding over this case as well, showed no mercy at sentencing. "Mrs. Benjamin, you betrayed not just your marriage vows but basic human decency. You plotted to murder a man who served his country honorably, who trusted and provided for you. The court sentences you to 25 years in the Illinois Department of Corrections." Lucy's sobs echoed through the courtroom as she was led away. Her parents left without speaking to anyone. The aftermath rippled through Chicago's South Side. Shop cut salon closed temporarily, then reopened under new management. Shanice started her own shop, naming it Loyalty First. Job's car wash empire was sold off to pay legal settlements. His children from a previous relationship received most of the proceeds. Philip resigned from the army, accepting a medical discharge with full benefits. He started counseling at the VA and eventually began speaking to veterans groups about trauma and betrayal. A house where it happened sold quickly, below market value. The new owners gutted the master bedroom, replacing the bloodstained floors. 1 year later, Philip sat in his new apartment, looking at divorce papers. His hand hesitated over the signature line as memories flooded back: their high school prom, their wedding day, all the homecomings and farewells. His phone buzzed. A text from his VA counselor. Group meets at 7. You coming? He signed the papers. Outside, Chicago continued its endless cycle of renewal. New buildings rose, old ones fell. People loved, betrayed, healed, moved on. But in certain quiet moments, in the spaces between heartbeats, the echoes remained of gunshots on a summer night, of trust shattered like glass, of a soldier who came home too early and a wife who plotted too late.